This week of Hell March, we're going to discuss the villainous faction of Command and Conquer, the Brotherhood of Nod. This global terrorist group has stepped out of the shadows and sets its sights on global domination and the overthrow of all governments, waging war across multiple continents in the First Tiberium War. The Brotherhood of Nod is introduced in the first Command and Conquer game as a global terrorist group focused on creating chaos and capitalizing on the disadvantaged in a bid to take over the world. The group claims to have existed for far longer than its public appearance, and later games demonstrate this to be true. While Nod's presence in many nations cannot be officially substantiated, efforts to crack down on the terrorist faction as well as financial records have shown Nod to have substantial support in China, Southeast Asia, Kazakhstan, Northern Africa, Eastern Europe, and Northern South America. While their worldwide presence is not as extensive as GDI's, it is profuse enough that it cannot be easily stamped out. While its official power and funding is unknown due to the illicit nature of the group, recent black market deals have come to light that estimate Nod's available money at $255.2 billion, or $500 billion in inflation-adjusted currency. Nod's main war doctrine is based upon subversion and manipulation. It does not have the technological or military capabilities to wage conventional warfare with GDI across all battlefield theaters. Nod is more likely to employ assassination, which we see attempted against a GDI commander in the GDI campaign, or manipulated media campaigns than wide-scale mechanized combat. When Nod does decide to employ conventional military means, it will produce an overwhelming amount of cheaper units and wash over the enemy like an unstoppable wave of destruction. The Brotherhood of Nod is led by Cain, a mysterious and charismatic man who holds unflinching loyalty from members of Nod. At first, the player has no interaction with Cain. He is simply this unseen character that is mentioned offhandedly. Prior to actually meeting Cain, the player interacts with Cain's second-in-command, Seth. Seth gives the young Nod commander his opening missions, being genuinely impressed with his early success, but growing visibly jealous of the attention the player is gaining from Cain. Realizing the commander is too skilled, Seth decides to engage an attempted coup against him. He dispatches the majority of the commander's troops to America to attack the Pentagon, despite Cain's insistence that they not attack America directly. Seth hopes to set up a win-win for himself. If the commander loses, he has successfully removed a rival. If the commander succeeds, Seth can claim credit for masterminding the brilliant attack. Unfortunately for Seth, Cain is eavesdropping on the conversation and acts quickly, killing Seth and taking his place in dealing with the commander. We see in a later game that Seth's body has been preserved and put on display in one of the temples as a warning against betrayal. Cain is cold and calculating, never hesitating to order an assassination or human experimentation. He is quick to anger and often lashes out, killing at the drop of a hat. He is a brilliant mastermind, managing to manipulate the downtrodden of the world into joining his cause. He believes Tiberium to be a miracle substance, though his fanaticism really grows in subsequent entries in the franchise. There is also a definite biblical reference bent to Cain and the Brotherhood of Nod as a whole, though this is most likely a visage adopted to further manipulate those he desires to use for his purposes. The story told throughout the Nod campaign details the war in Africa, with Nod beginning in Egypt and working south to finish in South Africa. The early missions are primarily based on assassinating an opposing leader to destabilize the region, establishing Nod Tiberium harvesting capabilities, and setting up an anti-air net to protect Nod heavy forces from GDI airstrikes. From there, the commander handles several different missions involving the theft of a nuclear detonator, the destruction of a convoy evacuating civilians, and the destruction of a small village using stolen GDI orcas as part of a propaganda campaign. All the while, Seth's jealousy and treachery becomes all the more evident. In new construction options, the dynamic shifts. Seth engages his plan to eliminate the commander or claim credit for his success, dispatching the majority of Nod's troops to America in an operation that is so high level, not even Cain knows about it. He adds a comment about how quickly power shifts in the Brotherhood before dismissing the odd sound he hears from behind him. Moments later, while explaining the particulars of the mission, Cain shoots him in the head, declaring that power shifts more quickly than some people think. Cain quickly introduces himself and sends the commander on a mission that requires commandeering GDI resources. This mission really sets up the final act of the game. GDI makes an incursion into Nod-controlled Egypt, so Cain sends the commander to solidify Nod territory there and grants him the use of the flame tank to deal with the disloyal citizens in the area. From there, Cain dispatches the commander on one of two missions to cripple GDI's technological superiority, assassinating one of the scientists developing the ion cannon, or destroying the facility producing the Mammoth tank. Following this, the commander must retake a Nod research station and then gain access to a GDI Advanced Communications Center in order to steal access codes to the ion cannon. Finally, the final assault on South Africa begins. In that final mission, the commander is given access to the Temple of Nod, which houses the nuclear missile for which the commander previously stole the detonator. This weapon is far more powerful than the ion cannon, able to level a significant portion of the map in a single use, which is good because one use is all there is. GDI is heavily entrenched, and the battle can take quite a while until all opposition is eliminated. Once the mission is over, we are treated to the ending cinematic, which depicts Kane's cyber experts navigating the inner workings of the ion cannon defense matrix to gain control of the orbitable platform. At this point, Kane gives the player the honor of deciding Nod's target: the White House, the Houses of Parliament, the Eiffel Tower, or the Brandenburg Gate. This provides the only aesthetic difference in the ending, much as with the ending of the GDI campaign. The Nod arsenal is not as powerful or technologically advanced as the GDI arsenal, but its cheaper cost and faster production time allows it to employ a numerical advantage over its enemies. Nod's primary production structures are the airstrip and the Hand of Nod, one of the coolest looking buildings in all of gaming. As stated in the previous video, both factions have the minigunner and the rocket soldier, but Nod has the flamethrower infantry soldier to even the odds. The flamethrower infantry is a devastating unit against enemy infantry, reducing whole units into cinders in moments. However, this extremely powerful unit does have its drawbacks. If not employed carefully, the flames can easily destroy one's own troops. Nod has a full complement of vehicles ideal for quick movement and surprise attack that are designed to be used in large groups in order to overwhelm the enemy. The Nod buggy is faster than the GDI Humvee, though it sacrifices armor for this advantage. It is ideal for use against infantry. The recon bike is the perfect reconnaissance vehicle, capable of moving around the map quickly and delivering its rocket payload with shocking speed. It also is capable of anti-air attacks. Nod's only conventional tank option is the light tank, which is weaker, slower, and less armored than the GDI medium tank. On the surface, this seems like it would place Nod at a severe disadvantage, and in a one-on-one fight it would. However, the light tank is 3/4 the cost of the medium tank, which allows Nod to spam construction. With a large enough contingent of light tanks, Nod can overcome any technological disadvantage it faces on the battlefield. In addition to the light tank, Nod has 2 specialty tanks available. The first is the Devil's Tongue Flame Tank, the tank equivalent of the flamethrower infantry. These tanks unleash a devastating wall of flame that will reduce the battlefield to a scorched wasteland. It's ideally suited to wipe out infantry, both the enemies and yours. The stealth tank is equipped with the Lazarus shield, which allows it to camouflage itself while moving, though it must decloak to fire its cannon. It's a great part of any surprise attack. And finally, Nod has a mobile artillery unit that can unleash devastating attacks from long range, if the unit can successfully make it into firing range. Nod has no air or sea capabilities in the main campaign, but its cheaper, faster units allow it to strike with speed and efficiency. Nod's views on Tiberium shift dramatically from one installment to the next. In later games, Nod's dedication to Tiberium is fanatical. In Command & Conquer, it is primarily viewed as a vitally useful resource that allowed Nod to ramp up its war capability to a point where it could stand against the might of GDI. There are some who view it as a great equalizer in the world because Tiberium is most plentiful and grows best in warmer, arid climates like those found in much of the Third World. At the height of the war, Nod controlled 49% of all Tiberium deposits, twice GDI's holdings. Tiberium represents a massive recalibration of world resources and power balance that is occurring in real time as both campaigns transpire. The substance arrived on a meteor that crashed near the Tiber River in Italy, and Kane claims he named it after Tiberius Caesar. Tiberium spreads through unknown methods, though many believe the large tower growths that spew spores into the air have something to do with it. Biological entities that get too close to Tiberium without protective gear have been known to develop Tiberium sickness, with most cases resulting in death. In the later stages of the war, this effect on people intrigued Kane to the point that he began ordering human test subjects, most of which were prisoners of war or civilians, to be injected with Tiberium. The results of these experimentations were never shown, but the sight of these mutations were enough to haunt Commander Solomon for decades after seeing them. Nod is the clear villain of the story, caring nothing for human life and fully embracing a substance that is a clear threat to the long-term future of mankind. While their tactics and ethos are clearly in the wrong, there is something to be said for the danger of GDI's encroaching power. Both sides will deepen even further into the characteristics we see in this game, with GDI growing more powerful and oppressive, and Nod becoming even more fanatical and focused on the Tiberium evolution of humanity. We'll conclude this year's Hellmarch with discussion of the lone expansion pack for Command & Conquer, the Covert Operations. Now that we've discussed both factions for the game, let me know which one you like to play. Thanks for watching.